Okay, so we're back again. Ken, you said Ken passed away about a year ago?
Yes, he did. But another kind of a situation for me that I forget the deadgum thing, but another thing that happened to me, I guess the closest I ever really to be getting killed was I was out at a very good friend of mine. It was the truck manager at Coca-Cola when I went to work at driving the truck. And he had a little place up on the river, and he had a bunch of trees that he wanted me to cut down for him. Of course, I always loved to get the wood. I was in a little grove of trees, and I had a big heavy chainsaw, and the clutch wasn't working on it real good. So when you quit cutting, the chain kept turning. And I had leaned way down and cut a tree off right at the ground, and as I came up, the end of that chainsaw caught in a tree and threw that chainsaw back, and it cut my collarbone in two, and that cut my face a little bit and my ear a little bit. And of course, they took me to the emergency room, and I got in the emergency room, and they just covered me up. Seemed like 2 nurses, and I thought 2 or 3 doctors, but I'm not sure about that. I just know there was a bunch of people in there. So when it was all over, the anesthesiologist came up in the room and kept telling me, said, you're just so lucky. He said, I think we just don't know. I said, I don't know how. And anyway, he said that about 3 times, said, how lucky. I said, well, I'll be damned if I can figure out why I am so lucky. And he said, well, if you'd have been in the emergency room and got into that artery under that bone, under your collarbone, said we couldn't have saved you. And we cannot figure out how you cut that that bone into 2 with a chainsaw and didn't get into that artery. So that was another kind of a close call in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it was.
Well, I contributed to God was looking over him.
You're going to have to move the kitty cat there.
Get down, Red. Get down. Get down, Red. Or get over there. Get over there.
I contribute that.
This is my little darling daughter.
That's right, darling daughter.
That's right, my little darling daughter.
I contribute that to God was looking over him.
Yes, God was looking over me. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you for, admitting that.
Okay, well.
Acknowledging that.
So,
and then here recently I got sick and I lost the control of my bowels, and so I went in the hospital and again and had to have a colostomy bag put on. And that's a very bad thing. But if you got to have that, if you can get away from the house, because I couldn't get away from the bathroom when I lost control of my bowels. So this is a really aggravating thing, but it keeps me alive, and I guess so it's okay.
Well, so let's move along just a little bit and talk about you and Hesta just a little bit more, and then kind of maybe what you guys did with the grandkids and that sort of thing in the summertime and stuff, and when they'd come down. And
well, they'd come down, and of course there was all 6 of them. They would come down, but I'm getting ahead of my story. Tommy's kids, he had two boys. All these grandkids are, fairly close. And anyway, my son in Lubbock, he would let his 2 kids come down. And of course, Rodney and Renee would let their kids come down and stay with us. And they really enjoyed coming down. But Tommy's kids never did get to come down. So Hester called her son one time, and she said, "Tommy, why won't y'all let your kids come down and visit with us like the rest of them do?" He said, well, I didn't know you wanted them. And Hester said, now, Tommy, you know better than that. She said, we'd love to have them. He said, okay, I'll look into it and see what's going on. And come to find out, his wife was so jealous of my wife, of Hester, their grandmother. She didn't want them to come down. But anyway, Tommy put his foot down, and they got to come down too after that. Well, we got them all, but when they were young, really. And actually, we got Reese when he was about 8 months old. But anyway, they'd come down, we'd take them fishing and do things with them. And I had a tractor that I did some mowing with. And those kids loved to ride that tractor. And of course, about 5 or 6 times a day, we'd be in the house or something, and they'd say, Daddy Hayden, is it about time to go ride that tractor? So we did that, and anyway, then after they got a little bit older and started still coming down, of course, and after they get 9, I had an old green Ford pickup that I drove as a work pickup. And sometimes we'd take it to town, and then when they'd get 9, whichever one of them got 9 first, well, I'd let them start driving that pickup. So we'd go to town at night and for supper, and we'd start back, and I'd always go the back way, and we'd get to a certain point, and they'd say, okay, Daddy Hayden, it's time for me to drive. So it was about 4 or 5 miles to the house, and I'd let them drive. So I taught them all, or helped to teach them all how to drive. So that was a big thing for me, too. And
it's a big thing for them, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear.
But we enjoyed them so much, and Hester was so crazy about them. You know, you can tell by the way I'm talking, I didn't care much for them, but anyway.
Well, why don't you tell everyone how you taught them how to TT under the moon?
Oh, yes. And well, not all of them, but Rodney and these 2 boys, when they were down, they were down here. One night we was outside, and of course, Hester was in the house, and this wouldn't have never happened if she'd have been in there, but anyway, one of them wanted to go TT, and I said, well, let's get over here and we'll all go TT. So we got over there, and the moon was out, of course, and of course we always said, Hester always said, I taught them how to TT under the moon. They were a lot of company, I tell you what. We both loved them so much.
Tell them the story about the rooster that got after him. The rooster that got after him.
Oh, yes, I got to tell you about that. I've always had chickens, and I had 2 big old Dominica roosters, and damn, they was about half mean. And anyway, Ryan and Reese was back there in the chicken pen, which they loved to go back in the chicken pen, you know. And they got to aggravating that old rooster, and damn, they got after him. And they come running through that gate and said, Daddy Hayden, that rooster got after us. I said, what do you mean they got after you? He said, well, they was going to bite us. They was running right after us. And I said, well, you want me to kill them? They said, yeah, I want you to kill them. So I went out there and caught one of them and brought them back here. And, of course, I wanted to get rid of them anyway. So I took a hatchet and laid her head down on a board and took that hatchet and cut the heads off. Well, they just bouncing around and bouncing around out there. Those 2 boys' eyes got big as a $50. They could not believe it. You know, when you cut a chicken's head off, they're going to do a lot of jumping around till they die. So, but anyway, they had no idea that I would kill them, I guarantee you.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Well, let's talk about a little bit more about Hester, and then we'll kind of move this along. You said earlier that you and Hester had you was married 30 years, and At breakfast this morning, you said, you know, the first 20 years was really good.
Yes, the first 20 years was really good. We had, I thought, a really good life, and only thing that was bad about it was I'd have to leave her by herself when I'd go to El Paso. And long before I retired, a little while before I retired, I didn't realize how bad it was really hurting her. And I just didn't think about it. She'd be here by herself. Of course, I spent every other night at least here with her, but still. And just before a little while before I started retiring, I was leaving one afternoon. I left every Sunday afternoon. And I was leaving on Sunday afternoon. And we'd had a good weekend, and anyway, and so when we went out for me to get in the pickup to go to work, she started crying. Of course, I said, "Baby, don't cry. That's killing me, and I've got to drive the truck." That's all right, I'm all right.
You okay? All right.
So anyway, that was a bad part, but I retired and, you know, was here with her for 18 years after I retired, so I was hoping that I made it up to her for leaving her here by herself.
So she kind of started getting sick.
Well, about after the first, she began to get sick, and then probably 5 years before she passed away, she was kind of beginning to forget things. And then about a couple of years before she died, she would ask the same question over and over, and I've learned right quick that you didn't tell her that, no, you know, a time or two I'd say, "Baby, you just got to saying that," and then she'd say, "No, I didn't," and she just, you know, just really did upset her. So I don't know whether anybody will ever listen to this, but that's one thing that you need to keep in mind. You cannot correct a person after they're beginning to lose their mind. So, but anyway, she did, and then she got on the pain pill, and she was a sick little girl, I'll tell you. And we went to doctors. Her hips got to bothering her so much, and we went to doctors all over the country. Even went to Colorado, Durango, Colorado, to see a doctor. But nobody would operate on that hip, tailbone. I'm sorry, not the hip, tailbone. And nobody would operate on a tailbone, so she went through an awful lot of pain, and then she got on the pain pills, and they got a hold of her, and the last year was really a bad year. I would give her getting a little ahead. I finally had to take her pain pill. I hadn't realized it, but I'd go get a prescription. And I got to realize, damn, she's taking a lot of pain killer. So anyway, I started watching it, and sure enough, she's taking way too many. So I took them away from her, and I'd give her a pain pill. You know, she's supposed to take them every 4 hours, and I'd give her one. And in about 30, 45 minutes, she'd say, "Bring me another pain pill." I said, "Baby, you can't have another pain pill. It's not near time." She said, "It had been that long. It's time me." So we'd have a big argument about that. That was not a good year for either one of us, but I tell you what, I miss her so much still.
Well, we all miss her, you know. Everybody feels like she left before her time was up, but her mind was just.
Yeah, and when she got in, when we put her in the hospital, her daughter and I went to see her. My daughter, and I went to see her, and when they got her out of the operating room and got her out of the recovery room and all, and they had all that junk running in her mouth and her nose and stuff coming out everywhere. And I told Renee, I said, baby, she'll never get out of here. And Renee said, yeah, maybe she'll make it. I said, no, she'll never get out of here. And sure enough, she stayed in her 17 days and was getting ready to get out and go to rehab. So I came home that afternoon to get some stuff done. And anyway, Renee called me and said she had passed away. And of course that was a terrible thing. But after about a year, I finally realized that she was really better off. Everybody was really better off, and that's a very hard thing to say because she was in such a bad shape and she wouldn't have had any quality of life. So anyway, if you can ever say that death was a helpful thing, that you could say it about Hester. So.
Yeah, there's a saying that I've heard many times that death can be a friend. You know, death can be a friend.
Do what?
Death can be a friend.
Yes, it sure can.
And in Hester's situation,
yes,
at the time it doesn't ever seem like it is, but you know, when you look back on it, it was her time. You know, so. Do you want
to? Don't bring Patsy into this.
Do what?
Don't bring Patsy into this.
Oh, okay. Hold on just a minute then. We're going to stop just for a minute.